In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 10 things I love about our Tesla Model 3 performance. So stay tuned. Hi, John here. We picked up our Tesla Model 3 performance at the end of September 2019 and I put about 3,600 miles on it. And in that time we've completed many short hops, sort of into town and that kind of thing, general shopping, but also some longer 250 plus mile journeys. I guess a real typical mix of day-to-day journeys. So this means we've had time and opportunity to get to know it and live with it. And because we have two EVs in our family, we've got the Model 3, we've also got the Hyundai Kona 64 kilowatt Premium SE edition, a bit of a mouthful. We picked that up in July of 2019. So we've got a bit of a comparison there between the two, and I will do a future video comparing the two, because there are some major and some minor differences between the two, some good and bads as it were. But for now we're going to concentrate on the Model 3. So these are my top 10 things that I love about the Tesla Model 3. They're not in any order or any priority. And whilst you may not agree with them, obviously they are my top 10. And I guess that's the great thing about car ownership, is that people want and need different things from cars. So your top 10 may be completely different from mine. So number one is the performance, hence I went for the performance model. So the 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, or 3 bang on seconds. I like the fact that, as with all electric cars, that it's instant acceleration at almost any speed. And that thrill of that instant acceleration never actually gets old. I like the sure-footedness of the all-wheel drive that we've got in the performance model, and the precise and sort of nimble steering and suspension package. And that works really well in our twisty A and B roads here in the UK. Basically, the car is a pleasure to drive anywhere, be it in traffic, on the motorway, on those A and B roads I mentioned. It is, a great car to drive, be that in a spirited way, while sticking to the speed limits officer, or pootling through the countryside and seeing all the wildlife and not scaring them off with the noise of the engine before you actually approach them. Number 2 is the tech. I love that it's basically a computer on wheels, and the car gets better. It gets frequent updates. So I park it on the driveway, I go to bed, and in the morning there's a software update waiting to be installed either on my phone or directly onto the car. We've had around 12 software updates since we've owned the car, and each update makes the car better, either by adding a brand new feature or by improving the existing ones that are already there. Sort of a couple of memorable updates was last year we had a 5% increase in performance for free. We also had 5% more range at the same time, so more acceleration and more range. Marvellous, what's not to like. So the 0 to 60 time was 3.5 seconds, and now it's been tested at 3 seconds. Another recent update was one to traffic light and lane marking recognition. The car now recognises the colour of the traffic lights and shows them on the touchscreen. It sees all the lane markings, things like giveaway signs, stop signs as well. And if we weren't actually restricted by the EU rules, the car would actually come to a complete stop at a red traffic light. The software also is actually very stable. It's not like perhaps when you get an update for your work or home computer, which then breaks it and requires either a rebuild or a revert back to the previous build. It's actually very stable software. And obviously the car is now better than when we picked it up in September. And there's not many cars that can boast that. Number 3 is the general look of the car. I just like the look from any angle basically. The front profile and 3/4 view is gorgeous. I love the rear stance. As I say, the car looks great from whatever angle, from above, side, front, back, etc. I've made a couple of minor changes to the car. I've removed the chunky plastic American style number plate surrounds on the front and the rear. I felt these were a little bulky and a little too flimsy in terms of the fixing point, because there was quite a weight to the plate. So I removed those and just did a sort of a UK style 2-point fixing over the number plate. I have seen people do a sticker as well on the front of their car and the back of their car, but I didn't fancy that. So I went with the normal UK mounting. But I much prefer the look of it. It's a lot cleaner and nicer look. And apart from the PPF film, paint protection film, that's all I've done on the outside of the car. And it's quite interesting actually, because recently when I had a service technician come to the house to fix something, it was actually the first thing he noticed, the number plates that I've changed, the number plates around. So it is quite noticeable if you're into the small minutiae detail, I guess. Oh yeah, there is actually one other thing I have changed. I forgot about that. And when we got the car, there was a little scratch and dent on the bonnet which had to be repaired, and the bonnet was then resprayed. And I decided not to fit the Tesla badge back on the front of the bonnet. So, you know, it's just a personal thing, I guess, but I quite like the plain look without the Tesla badge on there. And even without the badge, the car is actually still instantly recognisable, certainly by the younger generation. You often hear shouting, "Oh, look, there's a Tesla!" And as you cruise by, in your whisper quiet car. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily need the badging because it is that recognisable shape. So number 4, things that I love about the car is the Tesla app, and then how that integrates with the other Tesla products. From the app on my phone, I can seamlessly swap between the car and the Tesla Powerwall. And also from the app, I can control most aspects of the car. I can lock the car, I can vent the windows if the car is getting too hot, I can preheat or cool the car, I can stop or start charging, I can book a service with the service centre and choose a date and time and detail the fault. I can find out where the car's location is. I can turn on and off things like Sentry mode, open the boot, open the bonnet. You get the idea. It's a multi-purpose app basically. I can even use the app with a feature called Smart Summon, which will bring the car to me or park it in a tight parking space without me actually being in the car. And I guess finally the key one is that the phone acts as a keyless entry to the car, so we don't actually have a key per se like you do in a normal traditional car. Number 5 is the navigate on autopilot and full self-driving. And this to me is just brilliant, and it works really well. I use it a lot. So for instance, if you have an appointment in your calendar, either on your computer or on your phone, and that appointment will automatically appear in your car's calendar. But even better than that, if the appointment has an address location included, on the day of the appointment, the mapping software in the car assumes that you're going to go there once you actually get into the car, and then you can just click navigate on autopilot to take you to that destination. So I love the technology. I love the future vision for full self-driving, like a fleet of robo-taxis. And granted, it's not there at the moment, and as much of the functionality is still restricted by the European Union regulators, which limits the car's abilities and restricts its full potential. For features like Smart Summon and automatically stopping at traffic lights. So we're held back purely by sort of red tape and bureaucracy, which will eventually change. And I say the good thing is that these features are already working in America, and it's only time that will pass, and then we'll be able to make use of those features as well. An interesting statistic that I recently came across is that you're actually 9 times less likely to have an accident whilst driving with Tesla's AutoPilot engaged than you are if you're driving the car yourself. Link to that down below in the description if you want to look up the reference. However, I do like the fact that I can choose. So if I want to drive the car, I can, and if I want to let it do it for me in the right conditions, I can also do that as well. I know AutoPilot and full self-driving does divide opinion. Some people love it, some people hate it. What's your take on it? And drop your love or loathing in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Number 6, the user experience with the car. Once in the car, you can basically get to almost everything via the large 15-inch touchscreen in the centre. You can open the boot, touchscreen. Open the bonnet, touchscreen. Manage charging, touchscreen. Play music, navigation, speed settings, car dynamics, user settings, it's all through the touchscreen. Alternatively, you've also got voice commands, and they allow you to do almost all of the same actions. Fold mirrors. Which again makes life a lot easier. And the user interface has been really well thought through. And it's, I guess, similar to lots of Apple products in that they're intuitive. You don't have to read the manual to work out how things work. You can just sort of plug and play, as it were. And I'm often blown away at just how smart it is, basically. Unlike some tech, which can be more of a hindrance than a help, I've found that not to be the case with the Tesla. And also another benefit is that if you have a front seat passenger, they can make all the changes and options for you as well, because they have full access to that same panel, which sort of helps in terms of spreading the load and the workload and allows you to keep your eyes on the road. The responsiveness of the screen is really a delight to use. The maps, for example, if you want to zoom in or zoom out or pan left, pan right, there's no lag at all. It's basically, it appears straight away. There's no sort of blocking or rewriting of the screen as you sometimes get in your phone or sometimes on a computer. I don't know how they do it, but it's just phenomenally fast and stuff just appears straight away. Number 7 is the supercharging network and home charging as well. So for home charging, I can charge the car for free with our setup. We have solar panels, or I can set it to charge at certain times during our off-peak cheaper electricity, which generally I will do during the winter. So I benefit from the cheaper electricity. If we go on a longer trip, we'll certainly use the Tesla supercharger network. The navigation software shows me where all the charges are, what my state of charge will be when I arrive at the supercharger, how long I need to stay there to be able to reach my chosen destination. Plus it also tells me what will be the percentage state of charge when I arrive at my destination. And it's actually really, really accurate. You can rely on it. The car is clever enough to preheat the battery when you're en route to the supercharger. And that ensures you arrive with an optimally conditioned battery, so you get the fastest charge rate possible. That basically reduces the amount of time you need to stay at the charging point. On our trips, in our experience, we've charged for about sort of 15-20 minutes. And that's just enough time to go to the toilet, get a cup of coffee, and then you're back on the road again. For home charging, I've got the My Energy Zappy. It's the version 1, the initial version, generation 1. And it's happy charging at max from solar, which is 6.4 kilowatt based on our panels and our inverter. It will charge up to 7 kilowatts an hour direct from the grid, or you can trickle using the eco mode on the Zappy at about 1.5 kilowatts an hour. In the car, I can schedule charges. We can cater for our off-peak rates, as I mentioned earlier, or you can set it to when you want to depart in the morning to make sure that the car is fully charged when you're ready to go. So yeah, car and charger work seamlessly together. So number 8 is servicing schedules and general approach, really. Tesla have turned around traditional manufacturing and car dealership model to basically turn it on its head. There are no dealerships acting as middlemen between the manufacturer, Tesla, and the customer. Tesla doesn't have dealership showrooms. There's no one making profits on selling new cars, used cars, servicing, spares, aftermarket parts, accessories, all that kind of thing. In terms of the routine servicing or maintenance schedule for a Tesla Model 3, Tesla state, it's quite amusing, book it in when there's a problem. They do give you some guidelines. They suggest rotating the tyres now and again between every 5,000 to 10,000 miles, depending on how spiritedly you drive. Change the air cabin filter and replace the brake fluid every 2 years. And that's about it, really. There's no service book that's supplied with the car like a traditional car, because there's no dealership service stamp as such. And many jobs will be completed by the mobile service team. You book an appointment via your app, they'll confirm the appointment, and whether it'll be done by the mobile engineer or you need to drop it into your local service centre for the engineer to look at it. And I've used both. And in all cases, I've found the service and the outcome to be very, very good, very helpful and knowledgeable staff, and nothing's too much trouble. Number 9, the interior. Whilst this may not be everyone's taste, I actually love the minimalistic look and feel of the car. I find it really sleek and simple and uncluttered, and as a result, it's also very easy to keep clean and maintain. I love the fact that there's no knobs, buttons, switches, dashes, dials, all those sort of things, which collect dust and dirt and mess, and which is a more traditional car interior. When I do clean the inside of the car, it takes me half the time that it takes to clean the Kona. I love things like the full-length glass roof in the car. To me, the whole interior is just perfect. Absolutely love it. Number 10, the built-in features like Sentry Mode and Dash Cam. The Dash Cam is fairly straightforward. We all know about that and the benefits of Dash Cam. Although the Tesla has additional benefit is that it records 4 different views, so it does the front and the back, but it also does the 2 sides of the car as well. And the Sentry Mode gives you peace of mind if you have to park the car and leave it and it's not in sight. And it's on the lookout, it's recording any motion that's going on near the car, it's aware of what's happening around it. And again, it's looking front, back, rear, and the 2 sides. Front, back, rear is the same thing. Front and back and the 2 sides. And the nice thing is when you return to the car, you may get a trigger on your phone or an alert on your phone to say that the Sentry Mode has been triggered. When you return to your car, you can now instantly review the footage, either Sentry Mode footage or the dash cam footage, on the 15-inch screen. So there you go. Oh, no, one more. Number 11, a bonus one. I guess this is an overall ethos. I like the fact that Tesla is designing from blank, like on a blank piece of paper. And yeah, sure, they've taken learning from the Roadster, from the Model S, from the Model X, and as a result created a more energy efficient car. And that has to be expected with continuous improvement. And in fact, the Model Y, which has just been released in the US, has got many improvements and efficiencies over the Model 3. But perhaps more importantly than that consistent innovation is the features that are built into it. The technology isn't a compromise. They didn't have to compromise around existing, a model's platform, as it were, like so many mainstream automotive companies do. Nor did it have any constraints because of the way it had to be manufactured on the same production line alongside its internal combustion engine relatives and all of the compromises and constraints that method comes with. And I feel that's perhaps a very much underrated point. And as we have 2 EVs to compare, the Hyundai Kona and the Tesla, the different approaches to design, manufacturing, distributing, selling and servicing are polar opposite in many, many ways. Hyundai have adopted a more traditional motor car manufacturing business with a few tweaks in that, it's fair to say. where Tesla have really been market disruptors within the motor trade. And this I like about them. I guess in short, that the Tesla Model 3 Performance is the best car we've actually owned. And, I would buy it again in a heartbeat without thinking about it. So what are your thoughts? Do you own a Tesla? Have you been in one? Let me know your thoughts below in the comments, because I'd be interested to know what your top 10 would be. What's your best feature, your worst feature, that kind of thing. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye.